Hey, this is Fat Puppy here, and as we get ready to go into this video, I have noticed as I recorded it that there are kind of twists and turns in the video, and there might be areas where you think I'm about got it wrapped up and then I'm on to something else. So please watch it to the end, enjoy it, and don't forget to subscribe. Fat Puppy, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. And anyway, enjoy the videos coming up. Welcome to Camden, South Carolina. Now, this is a very historic town in South Carolina. It was formed in 1738, actually by the Wateree River, which is a few miles that way, a few miles west of here. King George II wanted to have towns established along riverways, because all that was there was like Charleston and just coastal towns, and he wanted to have people come into the state and establish commerce and settlements. So he ordered that 11 towns be laid out, and this was one of them, but it was along the Wateree River, and I believe at the time it was called Fredericksburg, and that was around 1738. Well, the place was loaded with mosquitoes, and the townspeople didn't like it, so they basically moved the town to right here. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you can see, the town square was right over there, and I'll have a better picture of that in a little bit. And so they moved around 1758, and they named it Pine, I think it's called Pine Tree Hill. Pine Tree Hilltop, something like that. And again, that was in 1758. Then later on, it was suggested that it be named after Lord Camden, who was an advocate for the colonies in the British Parliament. So it was named Camden at that point. It's a very, very historic town. In May of 1780, this was the British headquarters set up here. In August of 1780, the worst American defeat of the Revolution happened here. If I'm reading that correctly, that means that we basically got our tails kicked very badly here. But now that was August of 1780. In April of 1781, we bounced back. We lost the battle, but it was a very costly battle, and so the British ended up retreating back to the coast of South Carolina, and this was part of what led to us winning the American Revolution. Here, this town, Camden, produced 6 Confederate generals. The last Union officer was killed here in battle. Now, where I'm standing, there's a tree, and I'm going to get a better picture of it later, but they did like a memorial. Pardon me where I point here. They kind of did a memorial. They called it the Camden Oak. And they say this oak witnessed a lot of history. So they go through basically the highlights of the history of when the town was right there. Okay, now this is just open field and a meadow now with a lot of history to it. So I got the historic oak tree here. Across the street from me, I have the old Presbyterian burying ground, which has a lot of history to it. Agnes of Glasgow is buried there, and I'll expand on her story. A gentleman that died during a duel in the 1820s is buried there, and I'll be expanding on his story. Just up the street about 200 or 300 feet is the old Quaker graveyard that's been there since I think the 1730s. And there's a lot of interesting history about the graveyard and then within the graveyard also. So I'll be doing some stories from there. So this is a close-up of the ancient oak tree, the memorial oak. And I just wanted to show this to you. What I'm going to do is move the camera back over there where there's like a plaque. And I'm just going to read the plaque to you of what this oak has witnessed. Have you ever seen an old tree and said, man, you know, this was here during the Revolutionary War. I wonder what it's seen. Or oh, wow, this tree could talk. I bet it tells stories. Well, someone some time ago decided to have this oak tree tell some stories. Edit, oh my goodness, edit. Don't show that to these people. Oh my goodness. So in this video, in this portion about the oak tree that witnessed everything, I just went by and looked at it, and it was long and it was drawn out, and honestly I got bored by it. And well, I admit I could sometimes get bogged down in details, but it was a snoozer for me. So I just had to start over. I'm at a way different location now, and then this is going to get inserted back into the video. What did that oak tree witness? Okay, that oak tree that sits there, it witnessed a new town being born. It witnessed 2 Revolutionary War battles, one in which we lost terribly, the other one in which we lost, but it cost the British so much that they ended up packing up, moving back to the coast, and eventually losing the war. It witnessed George Washington coming through. It witnessed a gentleman whose name has escaped me now, but you'll see it in the video, who was shot and stabbed 11 times, and about 9 miles up the road in a battle, and then died close by to where that tree is, maybe about 3/4 of a mile. Ooh, that sunshine is coming out on me now. Lord have mercy. And then that spot, the gentleman was buried really close to that tree. It witnessed the town being burnt down as the British left. They decided to abandon the town and burn it down. So when the town rebuilt, it actually rebuilt just about 3/4 of a mile, maybe a mile up the road, and started its center there. So that tree witnessed a lot of history for that town. So what I have done now is compressed about a 4 or 5 minute video down to, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes. Y'all can thank me. Anyway, on with the video. I know you can't see much of it, but this young tree right here, right there, was planted from that old tree right there. So the witnessing, I guess you could say, continues. On this site here, this is the site, the burial site was somewhere right around in here, of Major General Baron Johann de Cobb. This is where he was buried at. Now he was actually a British, he was a spy for a little while on the American side, but he was British. So anyway, at a battle about 9 miles north of here, I believe, he suffered 11 wounds from bayonets and gunshots. He was treated actually at a British hospital, which is just down the street there. I can see the spot where it was from here. If you ever get a chance to come and visit, and you like to visit historic towns, I would definitely come and see this. I'm not trying to make this about the town, so to speak. Not really big on town histories, or at least making videos of them. But they have the Park Service has a mock-up of the old town, like I said, just down the block. And I would come see it. They have a lot of the old buildings that belong to different citizens that they've moved to that location because it was the old town. It's the old town square. And the old Kershaw house is there. When I say old, what I mean is it's not the original. I don't know what happened to the original. I've not really studied much on the house itself. But the mock-up of it, or the rebuild, I guess you could say, is also there. So Johann de Cobb was buried here, and then in the 1820s he was moved to Presbyterian churchyard. I cannot end this video without talking about King Haigler. I mentioned him early on in the video and told you I would tell you a little bit about him. King Haigler was a powerful Indian chief from this area. He was born around 1700 and died in the mid-1760s, I believe. As a child, he had been captured and actually put in schools to learn the white man's way, I guess you could say. Well, this put him in a powerful position because he went back to his Indian tribe and ended up becoming a chief, and it put him in a position of being able to negotiate with the white man. He also, in negotiating with the white man, was a strong advocate of trying to have the white people keep whiskey away from the American Indians. He's seen the bad effects it had on them, especially the young ones, and he just was strongly against giving the Indians whiskey. And I don't know how far along he got with it. I mean, you know, it's a famous stereotype about how the American Indians can't handle their fire water. And King Haigler is also involved in a little bit of a legend that I'll be telling later on. But he is considered kind of the patron saint of Camden. They have like Haigler Street, and there are memorials to him around, and the people around here, I guess even back then, thought very well of him. So anyway, couldn't let it go without King Haigler.